He had been going to my church for a while, and I didn't know who he was, or that he owned the Mattress Hub, or that he, was doing all the things that he did. And I remember I was at a very difficult part in my life. I was really unhappy with the job that I had, and I remember hearing that he owned the Mattress Hub. So I approached him one day, and I just kind of, I met in his office, and I was like broken. And he didn't have any positions available for me, but he barely knew me, and he literally created this custom, IT/customer service position just to try to give me something to do, and helped get me out of a place that I was very unhappy with. Now, one thing Ryan did not know at the time is that I had struggled with drug addiction for probably 4 years at that point. So he didn't realize what he was getting himself into. That was kind of the beginning of a relationship with him that has really, kind of changed my life. That first opportunity he gave me, I blew. I totally blew it. You can't maintain a full-time job if you're in active addiction. It just doesn't work. But he was always very supportive of me. So Ryan ended up having to let me go. And at this point in my life, I was like, maybe if I go to rehab, Ryan will give me my job back. My family will be happy with me again. So I went out to treatment for all the wrong reasons. I successfully completed it. Ryan was supportive every step of the way. But I generally maintained a decent, fairly stable life. And then Ryan ended up giving me a second opportunity to work for him. Ended up giving me a shot at one of his regular retail locations. And this whole time he's been a guy that I can look to for not just friendship, spiritual leadership, but as a mentor. Somebody that I can find some guidance in. Someone who's authentic, someone who's not, just using people to achieve an end. He's someone who legitimately came off as someone who cared about me, and it was wonderful. But within 2 months, I had fallen back into drug addiction with opiates and Xanax, and it was pretty bad. He ended up having to let me go again, and I'll never forget when they had to fire me, and I was driving home. And 30 seconds later, maybe 2 minutes later, he's calling my phone, and he's like, "Hey, Emil, buddy, what's going on, man? Like, what's wrong?" And I just kind of, I broke down again, but I really wasn't ready to surrender to the fact that I was powerless over these drugs and alcohol. And the next 2.5 years of my life get really dark. I ended up becoming a IV drug user. So I was doing heroin, I was doing meth, I was going to the methadone clinic, I was addicted to Xanax. I was living at my parents' house, and I was sleeping on a twin-size air mattress, and I hear the tow truck lift my car up in the front. Well, not only did the private investigator who came to find me, come to get my car, but he saw that I had warrants. I remember calling Ryan in jail. I hadn't talked to him in probably half a year, maybe longer. And I'm like, "Oh, can you help me? You got to get me out of here." And I still wasn't ready to surrender. And he still poured into me, tried to help me from a distance, because when somebody is in active addiction, one of the worst things you can do for them is enable their behavior. And Ryan's wise enough to know that I wasn't at a point that he could fully engage with me again. And I believe that he saw that, because I was exclusively reaching out to him because I had a need. I was facing 2 felony drug charges. I had been in and out of jail probably a dozen times over the course of 2.5, 3 years. I had an insane heroin addiction, drug habit, and all of a sudden I started feeling this prompting on my spirit again from God. In that moment, I had a reverent fear for God. And I fell on my knees, and I threw my hands up, and I was like, "God, I don't know what I'm going to do or how I'm going to get out of this, but if you'll deliver me from this, I'm yours." and I took the drugs that I had and I flushed them down the toilet. And this was about 2 months before I ended up going into treatment here in Wichita. And for the first time in my life, I was going for the right reasons. I was tired. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I was tired of being just a total mess and a menace to society. So I remember I went into treatment, I brought my Bible, and I'm calling Ryan like every week, letting him know. He's like, brother, I get it. Like, I get it. Like, my problem was I really was a slave to it. I remember at this time I had about 4 months clean, and COVID hit. And, you know, I still have to pay rent at the sober living I'm at. And Ryan was like, why don't you come to the warehouse and, you know, I'll put you to work. And those 3 weeks to a month that I spent there with him, just one-on-one, just us two in the warehouse, and we were reorganizing and pulling mattresses out, and he's talking to me and mentoring me and just, you know, encouraging me. That was so important for me because it gave me hope. You know, like there was somebody in a position like he's in that, you know, cares about me and wants to give me a chance. You know, something I want to say about him is I'm not the only one that Ryan has ministered to and loved on and shepherded and guided through, you know, years and years of addiction. You know, there's 2 or 3 or 4, you know, 5 other guys that I can think of just off the top of my head that he has personally brought into his organization, tried to minister to, tried to help. I've seen him pay out of his own pocket to send people to go to rehab, and that's not cheap. He had nothing to gain from that, and I've seen him do it several times. Today, I'm financially stable. My relationships with my family and my friends have all been restored. My faith is the most powerful it's ever been. I'm getting ready to step into a leadership position for a new sober living that's opening here in Wichita. I really believe that the substance abuse problem here is the worst it's ever been. I'm not even kidding when I say it seems like every week I hear about someone else who's died. It's typically fentanyl related. And Ryan has really shown that he cares about this problem in particular, and I've seen him put the action behind those words. So I fully support him in pretty much anything he's going to do because he's supported me.